Now we're ready to move to the second major type of tissue. We've looked at epithelial and all the different types of epithelial. Now we want to talk about connective tissue. Connective tissue is divided into two main groups, and in this video we're going to talk about the first group, which is connective tissue proper, or general connective tissue. The other group is specialized connective tissue that we'll talk about in the next video. Now, the functions of connective tissue are obviously connecting and binding, which anchors the layers of the tissues and the organs, and it links the organs together. The second function is support. It supports the weight of the body. You've got bone and cartilage here that are connective tissue. Protection. It protects your internal organs, and bone is an example of this. Cartilage and fat help with shock absorption. And then you have a lot of cells in the immune system that are in the connective tissues. Transport. The reason that it functions in transport is because blood is connective tissue and it transports substances all over the body. Now, connective tissue proper, or general connective tissue, has certain types of cells. It's got cells that live there permanently. They're called resident cells. And then it's got cells that move in and out depending on what's going on in the body. And those are called migrant cells. And we have fibroblasts, adipocytes, mast cells, and phagocytes, or phagocytes, that we're going to talk about. Now, the ones that live there, the resident cells, fibroblast. This is the most common resident cell. And what the fibroblasts do is they make protein fibers and ground substance. They're constantly making these collagen proteins, these fibers, and that's their job, is to make the fibers. Adipocytes, looks kind of like a honeycomb here. These are just fat cells that live in connective tissue. And then mast cells, this is the largest cell that's a resident cell. And here you're looking at a mast cell, and it's got these inflammatory mediators there that it will release, and when it's stimulated, and they cause inflammation. The migrant cells that move in and out, the first is your phagocytes. These are also functioning immune system cells. What they do is they eat. Phago means eat, cyto means cell. They eat cells that are dead or damaged, or microorganisms or foreign substances. And this would include macrophages that can be resident or migrant, and neutrophils that migrate in and out. Those are a type of white blood cell that migrates in and out. Now, looking at that graphic there, that little red spot is the bacteria. And then all that other stuff with the pseudopods and the big tan-colored structure, that's the macrophage eating up that little bacteria. Now, moving to the types of general connective tissue, the first type is areolar, also called loose connective tissue. It has a lot of ground substance in it, and all three protein fibers. It's got collagen, elastin, and reticular. It's got fibroblasts to make those fibers. It's got some adipocytes, or fat, and all of that's in that ground substance. You find this is the underlying tissue beneath the skin. Under that stratified squamous epithelium, you find areolar, or loose connective tissue. You also find it in the membranes that line your body cavities and in the walls of your hollow organs. It is vascular. All connective tissue is vascular. You remember what avascular means? Without blood. Well, vascular means that it's got a good blood supply. So it's going to supply all the blood by diffusion through that basement membrane into the epithelial tissue. And there's a lot of immune system cells there that work to fight invasion by microorganisms. So that's areolar connective tissue. You see, cells are scattered around in that extracellular matrix. Dense irregular connective tissue, you've got a lot of collagen here and it's very disorganized. Those collagen bundles are disorganized. Because it's disorganized, it resists a lot of tension coming from all three directions. You find it in areas where you're going to have a lot of stress. It's in your dermis, which is under the epidermis, the top layer of the skin, and you find it in the organs, some organs, and in joints also. Dense regular connective tissue, you've got organized collagen bundles. So they only resist tension in one plane. You find this in your tendons and ligaments. And you see how they're parallel, how all the fibers run this way. And then those little cells that you see scattered around in that matrix, those are your fibroblasts that make those collagen fibers. Dense, regular, elastic connective tissue, obviously, is going to have a lot of elastic fibers, and they're parallel oriented. You can see them. It's going to be a squiggly line, but it's parallel. You find it in organs that must stretch. Large blood vessels have them. Some of your ligaments have dense, regular, elastic connective tissue. Reticular tissue is got lots of reticular fibers, and those fibers are made by fibroblasts, and they will form this network for support, and you find it in your blood vessels, in your lymphatic vessels. You find it in lymph nodes, the spleen. Those web-like arrangement of those reticular fibers traps things, old worn-out cells, and any kind of bacterium or virus or foreign invader can get trapped in this tissue in the lymph nodes. Adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is nothing but fat. It looks like a honeycomb, and that fat gets inside that honeycomb shape, and it just fills it up. And we use fat is used for insulation and shock absorption and protection, as well as energy. So fat has a lot of uses.